To explore how bringing nature to our lives impacts our well-being and mental health, we explored theory in top journals papers and also adopted an interpretive perspective by doing interviews. We interviewed psychologists, landscape gardeners, plant businesses, and people that have plants at home. Let's start from the beginning. What is well-being and mental health after all? Well-being generally includes global judgments of life satisfaction and feelings ranging from depression to joy. Mental health is the basis of emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and there is no health without mental health.
A saúde mental é um equilíbrio emocional, portanto, uma gestão das emoções e um equilíbrio emocional, de forma a que as pessoas tenham uma sensação de bem-estar.
When considering mental health, we are talking about the ability to adapt to new life circumstances, overcoming crises and dealing with emotional losses and conflicts, having the ability to recognize limits and signs of being unwell, having a critical judgment, a sense to reality, creativity, and the ability to dream, establishing satisfactory relationships with other members of the community, having life objectives, and, above all, discovering a meaning to life. Now that you know the whole picture about this disorder, let's talk numbers. Did you know that psychiatric disorders have a prevalence of 22.9% in Portugal and that depression affects 10% of this Portuguese population? These worrying numbers place Portugal in second place among the European countries.
Eu tenho falado com bastantes colegas e trabalho num hospital público e de facto é muito notório o aumento de casos de ansiedade e depressão, tanto na população juvenil como na população adulta.
Additionally, to emphasize this phenomenon, the COVID-19 pandemic had an enormous impact on mental health. According to a recent study, 33% of people interviewed have been seeing their mental health condition getting worse. And, from this segment, 48% are young Portuguese people between the ages of 18 and 24. With this, we consider the mental illnesses can be responsible for a future significant loss of productivity at work and inhibition of civic participation. But does nature impact our health? And if yes, how so? We often associate nature as the outside, the natural environment. That includes animals, forests, rocks, sea, sand, basically areas that have not been substantially altered by humans. But nature is not only that. Nature is present in just a potted plant or in a small urban park. Nowadays, although we have been ignoring it for years before, there has been more attention and appreciation for it, for its raw beauty, and because we cannot live without it.
E é interessante este ciclo de como as coisas aparecem e desaparecem, mas no fundo nós vamos sempre buscar as coisas à origem. E aqui no Ocidente, começámos pelo Oriente, mas se calhar não precisamos de ir tão longe buscar esses ensinamentos e essa sabedoria que no fundo está em nós, porque somos de cá, a essas culturas mais antigas. Foram de facto abafadas, mas não deixaram de existir e que nós conseguimos trazer para os nossos dias.
On the one hand, being outside really is good for us. We know that it's not just a myth. On the other hand, we spend almost 90% of our time indoors, which indicates a further disconnection from nature. Thus, what we are seeing, hearing, and experiencing at any moment is changing not only our emotional state, but also how our nervous, endocrine, and immune systems are working, which means that an unpleasant environment can cause feelings of anxiety, sadness, or helplessness, elevating the blood pressure, heart rate, and muscle tension, and suppressing the immune system. By having this in mind, don't you feel the need to be surrounded by something that can relieve this emotional state?
E eu posso-vos dizer, eu sou naturalmente uma pessoa ansiosa. Acho que sou uma pessoa com uma ansiedade muito controlada agora, mas tive períodos da minha vida, e se calhar muito nova, e agradeço por isso, em que tive muita ansiedade. Eu posso dizer, eu deixei de ir à escola com a ansiedade que tinha, e portanto, acho que senti na pele e foi uma grande inspiração para mim conseguir fazer a overcome disso e a natureza ter-me ajudado tanto no meu processo pessoal, desde as plantas aos animais. Eles têm um poder de compreensão único que às vezes as pessoas não têm.
Recent studies conducted in several parts of the world are beginning to find evidence that being surrounded by nature has an impact on our brains and our behavior, meaning that through nature we can reassure our brains and body's healthiness. No one knows if there is an ideal amount of natural exposure, nor can anyone say for sure how nature compares to other forms of stress relief, for example meditation. In a world where anxiety is a growing phenomenon, one of the easiest solutions for those who suffer from it might be a dose of green. Because of these perceived impacts and the beauty of it, a new concept of design appeared, the biophilic design. Biophilic design deliberately attempts to translate an understanding of the inherent human affinity with nature and its systems and processes. The practice of biophilic design involves the application of several design strategies that are referred to as experiences and attributes. There are three kinds of experience of nature. The direct experience of nature, actual contact with environmental features in the built environment, including natural light, air, plants, water. The indirect experience of nature, the contact with a representation or image of nature or exposure to particular patterns and processes common in nature, which include natural colors, natural materials, simulating natural light and air. The experience of place and space, spatial features characteristic of the natural environment, including integration of parts and wholes, cultural and ecological attachment to place, and transitional spaces. In the short run, biophilic design is known for being able to alter the environmental conditions of landscapes or buildings. However, in the long run, it should support an ecological and sustainable natural community. So, by bringing nature into living and working environments, people could increase their time and frequency of connecting with natural elements while being indoors. And we already know that indoor plants don't just look good, they can make us feel good too. Studies have shown that indoor plants have some benefits.
É mais que comprovado que diminui o estresse, que te ajuda a ter uma vida mais leve, ajuda para quem tem problemas com depressão.
Ajudam ao foco, à produtividade, aos nossos níveis de criatividade. Todos estes benefícios estão estudados, a reduzir o stress, a criarmos rotinas mais mindful, porque de facto quando nós estamos a cuidar das nossas plantas, nós estamos basicamente focados nas nossas plantas, nós tiramos ali alguns minutos, algumas horas para olhar para as nossas plantas, para perceber o que é que precisam, então é um processo muito meditativo.
Portanto, a ideia do alívio e da gestão do stress é justamente a capacidade de nós nos distanciarmos do problema para depois voltarmos com novas ideias de resolução do problema.
A atividade de jardinagem e paisagismo também ela é utilizada como uma válvula de descompressão. Então, assim, existem inúmeros benefícios, né? Eu sou suspeita para falar, que aqui em casa tem planta e tudo quanto é canto.
Psychologists believe that spending time in green spaces or bringing nature into our everyday life can benefit our mental health.
Ao cuidarmos da natureza que nos é mais próxima, e isso viu-se muito com o confinamento, não é? A necessidade de trazer a natureza para dentro e depois as próprias pessoas poderem cuidar de um ser vivo e abstraírem-se um bocado de si próprias também, não é? Porque foi um tema desafiante para todos nós.
A study was conducted by Harvard Decision Science Lab from October to December in 2018, where 100 participants after stressor tasks were randomly assigned to experience one of 4 virtual offices. 1 non-biophilic, 1 with indoor plants, 1 with a green outdoor view, and the last one with a combination of indoor garden and view to an outdoor garden. Their physiological indicators of stress reaction, including heart rate variability, heart rate, skin conductance level, and blood pressure, were measured by biomonitoring sensors. Their anxiety level was measured by using the State Trait Anxiety Inventory Test. It was found that participants in biophilic indoor environments had consistently better recovery responses after stressor compared to those in the non-biophilic environment, in terms of stress and anxiety reduction. NASA conducted a careful study about clean air that resulted in a list containing 18 different plants and their impacts and benefits. Some examples are fern, parlor palm, peace lily, dracaena, and snake plants. Of course, we have to take into account some risks with plants.
O malefício, né, o que eu consideraria mesmo são plantas que não se adaptam à sua rotina, então vai te dar mais dor de cabeça do que prazer de ter ela. Plantas que estão na listagem de plantas venenosas tanto para criança quanto para pet, ok? Plantas que elas podem gerar uma infiltração no apartamento, estourar um vaso, então você tem que saber realmente como você está plantando para você não ter dor de cabeça.
Are Portuguese people aware of this positive impact?
Isto começou no confinamento, no ano passado. Comprei uma planta por influência da minha mãe e por aí é muito fácil tomar-lhe o gosto. Desde aí não consigo parar de comprar plantas.
And is this trend still growing or not?
É uma tendência por vários motivos. Por um lado, nós, quando fizemos este business plan, definimos logo assim o nosso target, ou seja, eram urban millennials, ou seja, nós estamos a vir para a cidade, estamos confinados, já na cidade só por si, não só em pandemia, e muitas vezes temos condições muito específicas nos nossos apartamentos, são pequenos, e as plantas de interior são fáceis de cuidar, estas plantas, e portanto nós temos esta necessidade de trazer natureza para dentro. Por outro lado, estamos a trabalhar cada vez mais em casa, esta tendência vai continuar e portanto as pessoas percebem que têm que mudar um pouco o seu espaço para também se sentirem melhor, não é? Porque antes era a rotina diária de sair e portanto também não tínhamos tanto tempo para cuidar do que estava à nossa volta. E portanto acho que vai continuar.
In May 2020, Patrícia Barão, during an interview for Visão, a Portuguese news magazine, said that since the beginning of lockdown, the housing demand has skyrocketed 80% for houses with outdoor spaces, terraces, balconies and gardens. On the other hand, Kátia Carvalho, country home furnishing and retail design manager in IKEA Portugal, in an interview for the same magazine in March 2021 about the DIY growth, said that in Portugal people are trying to bring some green to their houses, an element that purifies the air and relaxes us. More and more headlines are appearing stating that plant businesses are not enough for so much demand that is affecting not only Portugal but other European countries. Other articles are being written listing plant businesses in order to help consumers finding their new green friends. This is a trend that is clearly growing, and COVID-19 pandemic just boosted it even more. Having plants at home and creating the routine to take care of them will improve your emotional state, reduce feelings of stress, and improve confidence and self-esteem when you realize you are doing a good job by taking care of them.
Planta é um vício, você começa com uma. Daqui a pouco, quando você vai ver, você tem várias dentro de casa.
Will we be seeing this trend creating a greater connection between humans and plants?
Potted plants all over my property. Potted plants make me feel so happy. Don't forget to water the potted plants or else they're gonna die. Oh no, that would be terrible. Potted plants are very beautiful things. Get a pot, fill it up with dirt, then get a seed, plant it in the dirt, water that dirt, let it get some sun. Before you know it, you're gonna have a plant coming out of it. And then you got a potted plant,